Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another great episode of the Grateful Redhead podcast. I'm so excited to have my first family member on today, so don't judge me by my guest, but I'm really excited to have Jimmy Lynch here. As you can see, he represents Leashless Atlanta. It's his company that he founded and started and is super passionate about. So today's going to be a little bit different because what Jimmy does is so powerful to the heart, to the livelihood of so many people. If you know a soldier, if you know somebody who's experiencing PTSD, if you know somebody who's suffering, this is going to be a really informative episode because Jimmy, what he does with animals and people is amazing. And I'm going to start by saying to Jimmy, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us know about what you do and how your passion formed to start Leashless Atlanta. And then we'll go into the nitty gritty about what you do.
Okay. Thanks for having me on. My name is Jimmy Lynch. I own Leashless Atlanta. It's a local dog business. We're mobile. A pet business, actually, is a better way to say it because we do multiple species. But we do your basic obedience, smart products, anything and everything pet in the home. We typically we cover. As an evolution type thing, the business has morphed into this really cool tone of giving back to our community, mankind, other species as well. And it's kind of become this just really, really great combination of creating harmony with pets and positively increasing the quality of life due to their proximity in our homes and with us daily.
So, what he's really talking about is keeping your pets safe. So I know for you, I know you personally, but just to give the listeners a little bit, it all started with giving access to pets to be able to stay secure in their yards, right? Through what you would call like some fencing that has the little activator on their neck so they don't go beyond the space, right? What do you call that?
Sure. So that's called a pet containment system. It's really kind of pet technology. As just like cell phones have evolved into what they are today, pet technology has done the same thing. It's able to keep them safe in the yard, contained, but also it's now in inside options. It also works with smart products like a doggy door that opens and closes with activation of a technology collar. Your dogs can call you at work nowadays. I mean, there's nothing they really can't do when we integrate technology. So it's really kind of a cool mix. Go ahead.
I remember when I came to your house and you had the dog door that was activated and you could set it to where the little collar would let them in and out based on the times that you allowed. I just thought that was so cool. And, that was a handful of years ago now when I think back, and technology has come so far from there. But really, that's where it started from you. You worked for another company and you transitioned into knowing that you had mad sales skills, you had a mad passion for keeping pets safe and, wanting them to be able to really have a good relationship with the families. And part of that is through training. You've always been so good at training animals. It's like, you're like that weird dog whisperer. I mean, you can't deny that, right?
Sometimes I'm more like the dog yeller, but anyway. So yeah, the whole when I got into this about 20 years ago, where I worked taught me a lot of things, and I was able to, as someone without a business mind, see where I saw differently. At some point, whether you work for someone or you work for yourself, you are going to move past where you always thought you should be, expectation and quality wise, because we always get better. And I realized there's so many areas that I felt like better fit the pet and human relationship that were just, I guess by design, not being addressed. Now, with that said, this whole thing of technology, it also coincides with psychology and your basic principles of your human psychology is pretty much the same in your canines, felines, and other species. But to integrate them to make sure that the pet is getting what their love language and communication style is, as well as the human. So, kind of the way I see things is human and canine are a team, or feline. I don't believe in the submissive and dominant roles. I believe that we're equal team. We have a task we have to succeed at, and how we do that collectively, we figure out together. I really don't believe in positive reinforcement, and or punishment for that matter. I believe that this task that we have to do is really just the things we're supposed to do, like doing the dishes, or washing our, brushing our teeth, or whatever. These are just simple tasks that the humans have issues with their pets, because they want to jump on people while they're talking to you. So we kind of figure out how to let them communicate with setting boundaries that works for both. So,
well, I think it's like any relationship, right? You have to figure out what is the person's language that they understand when you're speaking to them in order to have a good communication with each other. So it's really no different with your pet, but it's really figuring out what is that language, like you just said, so that they can communicate better with each other. Now, somewhere along the road, it became way more than just containment systems. Can you tell me a little bit about, number one, stop fidgeting, and tell me a little bit about, was there that aha moment? Do you remember when the moment happened when you knew that this was bigger than containment?
As a matter of fact, yes. There was a defined moment, and it was more like a kick in the gut, to be honest. I realized some things that I never really even thought about, and that was the access, this particular subject, the access, supply and demand for service dogs for people that are disabled or in need. It was on a Friday, actually, and I know the date even. And it kicked me in the gut so hard that all weekend I couldn't shake it. And then Monday, the following Monday, a couple of days later, I hit the ground running. And lo and behold, within like about 2 weeks, I had my first client, and I had no idea it was going to evolve into what it has today. And that is a structure of rescuing and saving animals, which in turn saves the humans, which is a pretty cool side effect. And what that really means for everyone out there that is not really educated in service dog or disability world. For example, if somebody has lost the use of their leg and they have to get around with a walker or a wheelchair, a trained service dog can wear a saddlebag, help them grocery shop, also aid them in stability support, getting in and out of the car, on and off the couch. If they fall and they need, and it's an emergency and they can't get to the phone, well, these dogs or companions can hit an activation alarm to call the paramedics. So these things that I call individually specific, for every human, the need and want is different. And so this thing is very, very hard to obtain nationwide.
So tell me about what was that moment that was that kick in the gut? What happened?
I was standing in a customer's yard, who is now a good friend of mine, and we were talking about it. She wanted to do more with her Saint Bernard, and we talked about the service and therapy dog world, and then I started realizing the amount of money that it takes to buy one after doing a little research. The average starts around $25,000. They go upwards of $90,000, and that depends on the type of training for the disability they have to go through. So with that said, as a business mind and a new business owner at that time, I was like, oh, I'm going to be rich, and I'm going to be, not have to work a day of my life.
Well, I'm going to sell 2 dogs a year and be set.
That's not how it works. This thing became such a good exchange of sharing life that the reward isn't even close to a monetary gain. It's a wonderful way to experience giving without receiving. 100% of the time we've done this, the quality of life for the human has improved, as well as the pets. Medication most of the time decreases, and the overall happiness is just more consistent. There's not a lot of highs and lows psychologically, and just by proximity, this nonverbal communication that's constantly going on with the pet and the human is just something we can't gauge mathematically, but it's undeniable when you watch it. So other tasks that some of these dogs do are they alert to a seizure prior, or to high blood pressure, or to high or low blood sugar. So there's many different avenues in which these necessary medical companions will help.
Now, you've shared with me multiple stories of the power that you've seen these dogs have with soldiers and veterans. Can you tell me a couple stories like that?
Um, they all of them are human beings that have experienced trauma. We're talking about the PTSD service dogs right now. And all of these humans have gone through massive trauma, and once they start to identify that's trauma and they start dealing with it, well, that's called the unraveling of PTSD, the beginning. And for example, a combat veteran who goes overseas to make sure we stay free is exposed to war, combat, and the things they see and experience on a daily basis, minute to minute, are stories that are so profound and astonishing that it's stuff movies are made of. And people are not taught, or our soldiers are not taught when they come back home from deployment, how to identify these feelings that they're having that they weren't told about, and what to do and give them the tools to overcome them. And most of the time, our veterans become hermits. They have very, very, very anxious social behaviors, or they become in the worst dark place, and that's the suicidal tendencies. And a lot commit suicide, supposedly 22 a day. It's more like 82 a day. But these dogs, these service animals, they provide something no medication and therapy can do for our soldiers. And that is create a social bubble when they go out to a big box store, which makes them nervous. They scour rooftops to make sure there's no snipers. They back their cars in. They can't sit with their backs to windows. Night terrors, cold sweats. I mean, these are just little pieces of the bigger scales of PTSD. And this psychological condition has been often treated with only medication and or therapy, and sometimes combined. And the service dog world is not something that's tapped into, and it's just one of the most amazing things to see. Not only is the training a short amount of time in comparison to others, but the rescue world is packed full of dogs just wanting to be adopted, or they face euthanasia. So it's a no-brainer.
That's what makes it so powerful. Like, you think about it, none of these big pharma companies can make money off of training a dog one time that's going to help somebody for their lifetime, right? So there's no value from big pharma or big money to put into that. But then you've got the whole scenario of there's so many dogs that need homes anyway, and there's so many people who have experienced this kind of trauma. So share with the listeners a little bit. There's a bullying situation that you were able to, help a girl with. Can you share that story without, no names or anything like that?
Sure. I won't go into personal detail, but I was at a local gas station. I had to use the restroom, and I walked in with my service dog, Bo, who's a very big Doberman. And the lady behind the counter told me that her granddaughter needs a service dog, and she didn't really go into detail. And because I'm in the world of trauma, I know not to ask because it's kind of rude. But also be open to helping people. You just have to just be calm, strong. So I gave her my phone number. Several nights later, I was contacted via text message and realized quickly that this was a kid texting me. And I said, I talked to your parents first, yada, yada. Well, this kid, her name is very special, I'll say. And the reason why I say that is because of a story that comes later. However, I got to know this family and this girl who was in 7th grade in our county that we live in. And she was bullied, cyber bullied by 40 middle school students. And the trauma she experienced caused her so much grief that her attempts to commit suicide are, I believe, on more than one hand at this point. Now, um, we all in the PTSD world say that it's contagious because for every one person in the home, 4 others are suffering also just by
Right. The
proximity to the
family.
person
Right.
suffering. Absolutely. So mom and younger sister, all 3 of them were under this PTSD umbrella, this gray dark cloud. And anyway, so I met this family and we started talking about getting her a service dog. They already had some dogs, and as the story goes further, right before COVID last year, she told the legislative branch of Georgia her story, and they were so touched that they wrote a law based on cyberbullying and bullying in our Georgia schools named after her. And I always told her she would have power on the backside of this, and that she knew nothing about going through the initial. And today, where we are today, when she tweets, millions of people follow her. And she is keeping up with the bullying subject, but also there's other doors that have opened in her life since she now has more experience where she's bringing those topics to the table. And she's very intelligent and beautiful and just a beautiful soul. And her voice is far reaching. So this bullying thing became such a large ordeal in the county we live in that they were having a rough time, the school board, with a high school student we were training a service dog for. They were denying her access and not allowing the service dog into the school, which turned into litigation. It's ongoing. And they are going to learn real quick, and the masses don't know this, but a service dog is federally protected like a wheelchair. So this girl who had this psychological condition because of bullying now, her service dog is at school with her every day, and it goes to drama with her and sits on the stage. And
That's amazing.
She was having 5 to 7 panic attacks every day under the desk in class, and now she has her service dog who doesn't make a peep, and it allows her to go back to school, which if you're a parent and your kid's going through this, the first initial thing is you want to take them out so they don't experience it. But she loved drama, and you can't do that virtually. So her drive to go back to school outweighed her anxious moments, which I can tell you, knowing her, was a feat in itself. And she's at school every day, and she's thriving. And this thing,
I love that.
259 more families had reached out to us in one day. So this thing is massive and intentionally and systematically being swept under the rug. So we are on this little movement with bullying here, and we're excited to get dogs into schools so we can stop this unnecessary, tragic, a lot of times, event that our kids go through and that we experience as adults as well.
Do you know how many people in the United States are doing what you do?
I have no clue, but there's not enough. We need armies of them. That's the thing, is the service dog world. I don't really advertise it as a service for my business, because this thing that takes very minimal time and very little money to help another human, this thing has been so contagious that we're teaching the human along the way also. So in the instance they come across someone they can help, whether it's by the story or hands-on with a dog, they're able to continue this movement of altruism through the vessel of pets. They're able to continue it also. So we're hoping that it catches fire, that this little ripple becomes a tsunami and people can get these necessary medical companions.
How long does it take to train a dog to treat somebody with PTSD or, this kind of anxiety that you just spoke of?
I'm finding about 3 months. Basically you're building the initial foundation of the pet, their personality and their core beliefs and what they do and how they act. That is about half of the time. And then we do the individual specific part. For example, if I was twirling my hair because I was anxious, my dog can paw my shin to let me know, hey man, your body movement is cyclic. You're nervous, calm down. And they oh my God, you're right. I will calm down. Thank you.
Right. Because half the
So that's
time we
kind of
don't
how
even
it works.
realize that it's happening, right? They don't even realize that some of these indicators are going on to even try to stop themselves from feeling that way. Even though half the time when we're having those moments of anxiety or fear or stress, it's hard to just stop ourselves, which is usually where the medication comes in, right?
Yeah, because anxiety is thinking ahead in the future. And if we're anxious, we're like, oh God, what about that bill tomorrow? We're not really thinking right now. I'm tapping my legs restless. I'm nervous. Like we're
Right.
not realizing these things because we're not living in the now. And we might be thinking behind us what happened to us last week and being depressed. But when we're in the now and the dog is pawing our shin, we're able to go, oh my God, right now I'm anxious because he just told me.
Right.
He reminded
Right now.
me that I'm biting my fingernails again.
Living in the present, right? It's not the first time we've heard that. We should all be living in the present. So is
And then
this something that
I always realize also right then, oh, I'm living in the now. I got to do laundry. Oh man.
you never do laundry? What are you talking about?
uh,
I'm sure there's a pile on the floor right next to you,
yeah.
right?
He reminded me I'm a procrastinator. I mean, I'm like, great.
And you're a good one, man. I love you for it. So let me ask you, is any of this stuff covered under insurance? Like, can somebody get a therapy dog that might be covered under their health insurance?
January 1st, 2021 is the first day in the nation's history that the VA started funding service dogs for veterans.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
huge. That's huge.
It's really a cool thing because society in general, we thank them for their service, but they have no idea the lifelong sacrifice and the extent of the depth of it that is never over. And that includes our police officers, our first responders, firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, nurses, doctors, ER staff. All of these career choices are constantly experiencing first and secondary trauma. So the fact that the VA is paving the way for our veterans means most likely in the civilian world, it's coming, not far
That's
behind
amazing.
us.
So is there something we can do as civilians to support that effort? Or is it just like something that is, on the bill side, the legal side, and it's beyond us now?
So I don't know when the government's going to catch up with this. They kind of do the things at their own pace. Um, Locally, you can find specific nonprofits that either have fundraisers or they donate these types of pets wherever major city you're living in. Just Google any of the local service animal trainers, which are very few and far between. A lot of these have um, donation dogs to certain people like veterans, for example, but they're on a waiting list. They may or may not get it. They also have to fundraise. The average dog is around $50,000. But that's what I could tell you locally, wherever this is coming into someone's ears. If you're wanting to reach out and give back, that's a good start because you might even be able to follow the actual individual you're helping.
That would be really cool. Yeah. So is there any fundraisers you have coming up soon?
Yeah, so here in Atlanta on April 11th, we're doing a fundraiser for Up Pups. Leashless Atlanta, my business, is the ones presenting it and hosting it. Up Pups is a local dog rescue that opened right at the beginning of COVID, and this particular individual, the founder, the way she has modeled her rescue, it's working on numbers I've never seen. For the most part, the rescue world is a great thing, intentionally, but the structure of it can be a relentless revolving door for a lot of pets. Anyway, so we're doing this event to raise money for this rescue, Up Pups, at a local brewery called Dry County Brewery in Kennesaw. And it's going to
That'd
be
be
quite
Kennesaw,
an
Georgia.
event.
Kennesaw, Georgia, for anybody listening. Yeah.
Yep. Kennesaw, Georgia. And it's going to be quite an event. We have a lot of stuff going on that day. It's indoor, outdoor. It's family friendly. Bring your pets. A lot of cool stuff that day. And as a finale, we're going to be offering a service dog to a local fire station. They are going to be competing for it. And this service dog will benefit many lives just by being there every day. And this thing should be everywhere. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to spread this as often as we can.
That's amazing. So this dog that the firefighters are going to be challenged for, right? It's gonna actually live at the fire station once it.
Well, that's what we're hoping for. We're going through the red tape right now because of prior rules and stipulations. It may have to go be donated to an individual instead of the place. So that we're getting worked out. But regardless, somewhere in the county we're in, it's going to get a service dog donated by Leashless Atlanta and Stand Up Pups to benefit these first responders that every single day they experience trauma that we know nothing about.
Right. So does it have to be a Dalmatian that you're donating to the firefighters?
No, but that topic has come up more than once.
Sure.
We're hoping, if so, it's a rescue Dalmatian, of course.
Okay, good.
But that actually has come up many times, so we'll have to address that at some point. Or use spray paint. I don't know yet.
Either way.
And so we look forward to this event. We had a photo shoot yesterday, and it went really well. We're working with another brand new startup company here in 2021, who the conglomerate behind them is very well known, and they've launched an app and an initiative that will reach the masses very soon.
I love hearing that. So is there something, okay, if somebody's listening right now and they're like, I have a need for a dog like that, or I'm having these stresses, or my husband is a veteran and I see his struggles every day, or my kid's being bullied, what advice do you have to them to try to get on the right path to find a dog that's right for them?
In a perfect world, they could find or know someone who has an already existing service dog for a similar need or want for the human. And my suggestion is figure out how to meet with them for 15 minutes or half an hour or an hour so you can experience it. Because theoretically it sounds great, but until you see it and experience it, you won't really know why you're going to try to raise 50 grand. You'll just say, There's no way. But once you experience it, it changes things, especially when you're a parent and your child has needs that a normal doctor occasionally can't help.
But you said in a perfect world, so I'm assuming that network doesn't exist.
No, it's the supply and demand of service dogs is absolutely backwards.
So what about maybe a hashtag? Is there something that they could search like on, Instagram or Facebook, like using a hashtag? Is there something like that you've found?
I don't know that.
Okay.
I would not be surprised if there is, but I would also not be surprised if there's not, because what I've learned doing service dogs for multiple ailments and diseases is that support groups also are very few and far between. If you have epilepsy or your child has epilepsy, there's one support group in Atlanta at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and that's just kind of a broad support group. There's not parents with kids with epilepsy or kids going through their teenage years with epilepsy. There is zero support group. So I would be more inclined to believe, even though I'm optimistic to a fault, I would believe that there's probably not too many places they could call and reach out.
Well, I do know one place they can call and reach out to, and that would be Leashless of Atlanta.
That's correct. And no matter where you're hearing this, that statement that Angie just made, that is true. You can always contact Leashless Atlanta. If we can't help you because of proximity, we can definitely try to aid you in any way through advice or direction that we can, because this thing, if it's obtainable, it's something suggested not only through the dog world and the animal world, but through your medical professionals. They are mostly all behind this.
So where can people find you, Jimmy?
Leashlessatlanta.com, any social media platform, Leashless Atlanta. And even if you don't have a pet, you should follow us because we're quite entertaining sometimes.
Very entertaining, folks. Not sometimes, all the time. Jimmy's got an amazing personality. His heart is even bigger than his personality, which if you're watching this on video, you can see he's just an amazing guy. But if you're listening to this, you can see that his heart's in the right place. And he kind of stumbled upon where he's at right now. But his mission to carry this forward is non-stoppable. And every day he's feeling it, he's living it, and he's also dealing with how to process all those emotions that he comes in contact with. So I'd like you to finish on a story that you shared with me recently that I thought was so powerful. When you went to McDonald's and you saw the kid walk into work. It's really good though, Jimmy. And if you can, I'm even like getting a little verklempt just like asking you to do that, but it's a really good story. And I think it drives your story home.
I'll try to tell it.
Okay.
So not even a week ago, 3 or 4 days ago, excuse me, I was at a local McDonald's, and I saw this kid come in with short dreadlocks, and I saw him clock in, and my son, who's about the same age, recently worked at McDonald's also. And I thought to myself, oh, that's what my son looked like coming into work. Like he didn't want to be there, of course. And then this really big dude walks in. I mean, big guy, like the size of a door frame. And he asked the cashier, are you accepting credit cards inside? Because outside you're only accepting cash. He said, no, cash only inside. And he said, thank you, but all I have is a credit card. And he went to walk out. I told him, hey, man, I got you. Go ahead. And as a side note, I can't do that all the time. So it's all good.
Don't call good.
Yeah. If you're hungry, call Angie, not me. But here's the thing: is that I just happened to have some cash on me, and I had my service dog Bo, my Doberman, next to me, and Bo is trained for trauma and PTSD, and what Bo is trained to do is hug you with his body, and what that means is he goes sideways and leans against you. He'll do it 3 times total every time with more weight distribution, basically blanketing you with calmness. And when that happens, biologically, your body produces oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin, your happy chemicals, with the side effect of smiling. And when Bo does this repeatedly to someone, the way he did it to this gentleman, there's 100% chance this guy needs extra, like a hug and love, and he's experiencing trauma. Bo knows naturally. And I was telling the gentleman that this is what Bo's doing, and he goes, he knows. I go, what do you mean? And he goes, I just lost my 8-year-old daughter and my wife in a car wreck. That was my son. That was my son that just walked in to work. And man, it's every day we're so thankful we have each other to get to the next day. And as I'm doing now, I did then, and beside the McDonald's. And that is, I feel grief for this man. And I'm so very glad to have had this conversation with him, because as we walked to the parking lot, not only did it end in hugs during COVID, black guy, white guy, with a Doberman that looks like a drug dog at a McDonald's on a Friday when everyone's in a hurry. So grateful to be open to these experiences. But he now knows he's not alone, because at that time I gave him my card for a nonprofit that I'm partnered with, where I am a family facilitator for trauma and master dog trainer for PTSD dogs. It couldn't have been a better crossroad in life for both PC, that's his name, and me and Bo, because every one of his friends feels bad for what he's going through. And, hey, man, let us know if we can help any way. Well, they don't know what that really means, because they've never gone through that. And the grief he's experiencing and his son's experiencing, well, you don't get over that. You learn to deal with it. And since Friday, I've talked to PC 3 times. And we might be getting them a service talk for him and his son. Yeah,
that would be amazing.
So, I made it through pretty much through the story. That's the gist of it.
That was great.
But this interaction with humans, and it's every day, all day long for me. Whatever used to take me 15 minutes now takes 2 hours and 15 minutes because of the service dog next to me. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I found my purpose.
Totally. And that story impacted me when you shared it. It impacts me now. And I feel like anybody listening can understand that what you do is so powerful and so needed, and your heart is bigger than you. And I just want to thank you for that and tell you how much I love you, because
Love you.
I'm amazed at what you do all the time. So this is not really the way I would like to wrap up the podcast, all in tears and sobbiness. So I just want to remind everybody that if you're in the Kennesaw, Georgia area on April 11th, that you should do yourself a favor and plug into the event. We got you a little bit of video. Yeah, there you go, little Leashless Atlanta. So tell everybody the name of the pub that it's at again.
Sure. It's April 11th, 2021 at Dry County Brewery, Kennesaw, Georgia. It'll be Leashless Atlanta hosting a fundraiser for Up Pups Rescue based out of Marietta, Georgia. And if you are not able to make it, we do accept donations in many different ways, through gifts, blankets and pillows and all those kind of things, as well as financial donations and volunteering also. We need volunteers all the time. And if you know a vet or anyone going through traumatic life experiences, please be there for them. And also, if you have knowledge of animals, reach out to a local nonprofit that does service dogs, because they need help too, always, 365.
So true. Great positive way to end that story. So once again, if you guys want to learn more information, if you're looking for better ways to help or learn more, reach out to leashlessatlanta.com, and Jimmy will be more than happy to help you. And, look, this is just another reason why I do this podcast, because highlighting what amazing people are doing for other people, taking care of each other and the planet, is just what I'm trying to get out there. So if you know somebody who I can talk to that's heart is in the right place like Jimmy, or that's, doing the right thing, reach out to me. I would love to be able to contact them. So again, thank you guys for listening to the Grateful Redhead podcast. Please subscribe wherever you love listening to podcasts. And until we meet again, please love each other and take care of each other. Peace out. Love you, man.
Love you.